I gotta speak on this because you said a lot of times people are just duplicating or doing what it is that they saw, and they don't know any better because they're just doing what they were taught. And that's natural. By human nature, we kind of do, or we're duplicates, or we're products of our environment. But this is what you got to understand. It's obvious if a person or a family or a generation of people worked for 100 years, but there's zero wealth, then it's obvious that the formula that they're using to get wealth is flawed. They have to operate under a new equation. So with that being said, we have to give you a new equation so you can get about the solution a different way, and ultimately a easier way, or a way that best benefits you as well as your family. And it also brings me to the Meatloaf story, where the generations of family, and they were doing the same thing and they didn't know why. And this is just a brief version of the Meatloaf story. You see, it was 3 generations of women, and every so often they got together and they made this meatloaf. And when they made the meatloaf, they always cut the end of the meatloaf off before they put it into the oven. But nobody knew why. So the youngest, the young gunners, they always question, what it is they were doing and why. Sometimes they might get in trouble for asking questions, but questions is what lead to answers, and answers is what change and break the cycle. You got to be willing to break the cycle. So the youngest of the generation of women asked the question, why is it, Mom, that every time we're about to put the meatloaf in the oven, we always cut the end off first? She was like, you know what? I don't know why we do it. I just did it because that's what I saw my mom did. So they asked the grandmother, and they said, hey, why is it that before we put the meatloaf into the oven, we always cut the end of the meatloaf off before putting it in the oven? She was like, you know what? I don't know why we do it. I just do it because I saw my mom do it. So they asked the great grandmother. They said, hey, why is it that when we're putting the meatloaf in the oven, we always cut the end of the meatloaf off first? She laughed. She said, I don't know why y'all do it, but I used to do it because I didn't have a pan that was big enough to fit the amount of meat that was going into the meatloaf. So here it is. 3 generations of women cutting the end of the meatloaf off unnecessarily, wasting food, quote unquote, for lack of better words, all because they saw their parents doing it and nobody questioned it until years later. That's exactly what's happening if 100 years of work has gone on, but zero wealth has been accumulated. So who will be the first one in your family to break that cycle? I've automatically taken the ownership or the role of saying that the buck stops with me. The generational wealth begins with me. Didn't have any wealth before me, but it will not continue. I have to break the generational curse of poverty. And by poverty means that we have to have something that outlives us. So stop cutting the end of the meatloaf off unnecessarily. And that's what many people are doing.
Yeah, most